Hello everyone and welcome to Whiskey Wednesday. Today is something a little bit more unusual. I was contacted a couple of weeks ago via email by a man called Mark Littler, who runs Cheaper by the Dram. Now promotion isn't something we normally do on Whiskey Wednesday at all, but it was something that really caught my interest. So essentially, cut a long story short, Mark has all these really cool open bottles that are worth a lot of money, but he's more interested in people drinking them than he is flipping them himself. So he's had like an Octomore edition 1.1, a 1980s bottling of Laphroaig 15, a 1989 vintage Bruichladdich 15-year-old, or was it an 85? It might have been an 85. A bottle of Glen Flagler from the Lowlands, like who picks up that stuff anymore? 1950s bottlings of Black and White, 1958 bottling of White Horse that's got some malt mill in it. That distillery that was in Lagavulin for like 4 years and was made just to spite Laphroaig, essentially. So really cool situations like that. And he came and he went, I've got this whiskey. It's a 1965 distilled 21-year-old Glengarry. So it was bottled 1986. I've never tried it. It's worth £2,500 for a full-size bottle, and he's given us the opportunity to try it for free. I'm not sure how much a bottle the sample actually sold for, or if it was for sale or just for press. But I was quite interested in it, so we've decided to take it a little bit further. And if this video gets good feedback, then we'll feature more of Mark's interesting little drams on it, and we'll get some like codes for you guys to use. Just to give you an idea of pricing, because on the face of it, it sounds expensive, but in context actually isn't. There was a lot of bottles on the website, and the only two I can remember are the Octomore 1.1 pricing and a 1986 bottle of Glen Turret, I think it was. So Octomore 1.1 sells for about £1,000 on auction. If you want to buy a 3cl measure off Mark to try, it's £45. Now, on the face of it, that does sound expensive. But if you think about A, if you wanted a full-size bottle, you've got to drop £1,000. B, I can't think of any bar in the UK that has that open. Maybe the Pot Still in Glasgow, or maybe the Bonaccord or Bow Bar up in Edinburgh. But chances are you're not going to find that open. The other one, which was a 1986 Glen Turret, was £10 a shot. So if you're a Glen Turret fan, you want to try some old stuff, that's pretty cool. The Glengarry price I'm really unaware of. Mark probably did tell me, but I've sadly forgotten. But let's talk about the whiskey, and I think it's one of the highest rated official bottlings of Glengarry of all time. You'd certainly hope so for £2,500. Glengarry's gone through a very unusual history. It's one of the only distilleries, or one of only a few distilleries that's still around from pre-1800. It was established in 1797. And up to 1995, they produced a heavily peated style of whiskey. They closed in 96, reopened in 97. I'm not sure what's happening with them now. A lot of their bottles are in travel retail and airports. I've not seen a lot of it in standard retail for a while. But this is heavily peated, or peated, Glengarry, distilled in 1965. So that's quite a privilege. It's only 43%, but we're going to talk to you about it, see what you think, see what I think, and we'll delve in and talk a little bit more about the company as well. So, nose. That was quick. I will go in for a bigger one, but I've never had a whiskey that just smells of like raw banana, like banana bread, physical bananas, like when you've been seeing like banana trees on your holidays in the Caribbean and stuff. It just smells of banana with this beautiful smoky background to it. I always talk about kind of older peated whiskies get this kind of tropical barbecue nature to them. It's like throwing all these tropical fruits onto, you know, like mangoes and bananas and pineapples onto barbecues. You get the flame, you get all those juices coming out. But this nose, it's almost like a Campbelltown funkiness. You get that big exotic fruit note. There's loads of like little smoke and ash and char in the background. And that's backed up with things like lime and coconut. Super exotic. The last Glengarry I owned was a 1995 single barrel, which I bought from the shop before I worked here. And, you know, that was like £55 a bottle. It was delicious, and I can't source it anymore. And there are elements of that with this, that specifically that kind of coconutty caramel note. Not as smoky as the 95, this is a lot smokier. Whiskey's separated by 30 years, but now we can actually talk about them, so that's quite interesting. But let's taste it, because that's where the fun is. still taste it now. Well, texturally, it's just delicious. Like, it's not overly thick. It's got like an olive oil feel to it, but it coats all around the tongue, and it doesn't deliver flavor with like punch or in like a sporadic fashion. It's really gentle and mellow, and it kind of eases and pulses its way through. On the nose, on the taste, sorry, there's less smoke. It's more like rich fruit oils and like cordials and like a little bit of ginger spice. And then literally as you go to swallow it, the smoke makes itself known. And it is that kind of funky Campbelltown Springbank level of smoke. It's very different from a lot of things I've tried. And the only whiskey I can think that tastes similar to this is that Glen Scotia rum cask that we tried earlier in the year. This has no rum cask in it, it's all bourbon barrel as far as I'm aware, but it has a very similar flavour note. I'm gonna try again. Yeah. Slightly drier on the second time round, but as you taste it, things come through in waves. It's a wave of caramel, then the coconut, then the lime, then there's like a little bit of kiwi, then there's more vanilla. And then the smoke starts to mingle in a little bit earlier this time, but then as you swallow it, it's that dry kind of minerally smoke. It almost dips into that kind of chalky limestone Lafroiginess, but without like the medicinal and antiseptic nature of it. It's delicious. It's the first sort of really old Glengarry I've ever tried, and certainly old vintage and old style. It's really tasty whiskey. I'm not sure what its official scores are, but it walks with like a 9.5. That's just a beautiful, beautifully balanced, elegant whiskey. But the video itself, as much as it is about the whiskey, is more about Cheaper By The Dram, and how it is an opportunity for us as whiskey drinkers to get access to these crazy old expensive bottles that we don't want to spend a fortune for, be it in an auction or in a bar. If you're lucky enough to attend a tasting with them, awesome. But you know, you can order this to your front door, you can sit down at night. 3CL might seem like not much, but think about it, you can have 1.5 CL as soon as you get it, enjoy it, experience the full-on nature of something like an Octomore 1.1 or a Glengarry 21 or a 1980s bottling of Bruichladdich. And then you can save the other bit, let it kind of oxidize, see if it makes any difference to them. But I'll be spending my own money on this stuff in the future because I think it's very interesting, it's very different, and it allows me to explore history and my palate and other things, comparing a lot of older whiskies with newer bottlings, which is not something you can do, but it's something I've wanted to do for a long time. So thank you for watching. That's the Glengarry 21-year-old. It's a 9.5 whiskey. Who'd have thought it from such a small sample? And this is Cheaper By The Dram. If you guys like the idea of this, I will put their website in the like the little info box below. Everything is listed on there that they currently have in stock, and I'll be spending £10 on a little dram of that Glen Flagler, or is it £14? Either way, I'm going to buy a sample of it because it's something I've never tried before. So let me know what you think. I'm sure Mark will be in the comments as well somewhere. But thank you for watching. This is Whiskey Wednesday. This is Cheaper By The Dram. I'm Phil. This is the Whiskey Shop in Manchester, and I'll see you all soon.